do you know one of the cuts that they apparently made to one of the people that actually got cut from Wizards of the Coast was
No.
Was Mike Merles.
What?
While 2023 was a very good year for the games themselves, which was...
A lot of bangers came out this year.
Bangers indeed. Some are saying one of the best years in a decade or more in terms of output.
Yeah. There's a lot of good gaming that happened.
There is.
Last year.
There is a lot, but unfortunately, like, the behind-the-scenes stuff for the actual game devs, the people that make games, it was not such a great time. And at the end of December, we got a lot of layoffs from Hasbro. Hasbro is in charge of Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast is sort of well known for Dungeons and Dragons and Baldur's Gate 3, to the point where at the Game Awards, because he wasn't really allowed to do a full speech, Sven Vinke, who's the director of Baldur's Gate 3 and the CEO of Larian Studios, took to Twitter to give his full speech and tell people, basically everything he wanted to say, but was hustled off stage before the game.
Which is another reason we don't care about the Game Awards, but
Yeah, exactly. No, I don't care about the advertisements for the year, guys. But anyway, Sven Vinke, I'm sure I'm not saying that right, but anyway, in his thread for what he wanted to say for an acceptance speech, he had said, I also want to thank Wizards D&D and specifically the D&D team for giving us carte blanche. I'm really sorry to hear so many of you were let go. It's a sad thing to realize that of the people who were in the original meeting room, there's almost nobody left. I hope you all end up well. What he is referring to is the massive layoffs at Hasbro that they did. Over 1,000 people that they cut. And apparently, a lot of those were in Wizards. I thought that this was interesting, actually, Alex. Do you know one of the cuts that they apparently made to one of the people that actually got cut from Wizards of the Coast was...
No.
Was Mike Merles.
What?
Yes. Mike Merles actually put out a post after this saying, yes, I was laid off by WotC. Yes, I am doing fine and excited by what's to come. And yes, I have a pretty amazing circle of friends. I'm going to take a nap, then get back to work of forging the future.
Was he not in charge?
Co-designer of D&D 5th edition. Yeah. So...
Okay.
Yeah. Also, kind of big layoffs because they actually came out and just said that they're not working there. Paul Cheon of Magic the Gathering, the talent manager and the producer. Magic the Gathering game designer David McDarby. Art director Brianna Heiss. Art manager Robert Sather. D&D Beyond producer and host Amy Dallin got laid off.
So... Was it a bad financial year for Hasbro? From just that, looking at their stock prices. I can see why they probably fired people. It's because they had a $30 loss in stock value over that time period.
Right.
Which, where was it from, though, in the company? Because I don't think it was probably from D&D and WotC.
Well, and the thing is that the sales growth for the third quarter of 2023 for WotC, digital gaming revenue up 40% compared to the previous year. They were doing fine. And again, yeah, the success of Baldur's Gate 3 sold very well, and then they laid off the majority of the team that was in the room when they first started working on that game. With Larian.
So it's kind of telling, when a company as big as Hasbro cuts off part of the WotC team.
The idea that it seems like a lot of prominent people inside Wizards of the Coast lost their job. Some people that are very well known is really shocking. Really shocking that they decided to do that.
Yeah, Mike Merles, for instance, was very vocal and active in the D&D community, from what I'm aware of.
Oh yeah, it was a good year for playing games. It was not a great year for making games.
Yeah, and were you gonna go into more details with that, or did you want to leave that for a different segment where we can kind of go off about how terrible of a year it was for gaming?
Yeah, I feel like maybe we can talk about that more in detail, because there is a roundup of layoffs that were done over the course of the year that I feel might be worth reminding people of.
Yeah.
Especially at the end. But specifically, I wanted to focus on Wizards of the Coast because it was fairly recent, and also because it is related to the fact that while Baldur's Gate 3 was getting all of these Game of the Year accolades, most of the team from Wizards that helped work on it in the initial stages were fired. So much of that team got laid off at the same time. And what an interesting transposition between product output and the people that actually made it and where they're at, you know?
Yeah, it does not instill a lot of faith for what is to come with D&D, for instance.
Right.
I know they have a lot of their 1D&D stuff planned, but with cutting someone as prominent as Mike Merles and the other members of that team and members of WotC, like, where can we expect Magic? Not that I care about Magic anymore, but where can we expect both Magic and D&D to go in the coming years, missing like critical people that were on those teams?
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to see, but
it's like, what could we expect out of Bethesda if Todd Howard wasn't there trying to sell us on next-gen games?
We wouldn't have gotten 16 times the detail.
Yeah.
And I'm be sad.
Maybe we should fire Todd and see what happens.
I get his fancy shoes. Fancy boots, Todd.
You just need newer components. It's a next-gen game. You need a next-gen system to run it.
You might need to upgrade your system to play this game. By the way, no you don't.
Yeah, my 3070 Ti and my 32 gigs of RAM aren't enough to play this game.
My 2060 played Starfield just fine. I gotta be honest with you. I don't have the best of hardware. Starfield was not hard to run. Anyways, neither here nor there. Point is, how do you feel about the way that game designers behind the scenes are being treated these days? About crunch and about best practices and about the layoffs? And was there one that particularly hit you hard? Let us know in the comments down below. And don't forget to subscribe and to like the video if you like the video.
And share it with somebody like Todd Howard, where we can tell him to... Never mind, just kidding.
I still appreciate Todd for what he did once upon a time, but it's not for the more recent efforts of Bethesda. It's for what he did before.